I want to say how much I appreciate your efforts to bring a budget to the Senate floor and how much I sympathize with your dilemma. Even though, as one of the acknowledged budget experts on Capitol Hill, there are not very many of them. I'm talking about you, not me. You understand our country faces a looming fiscal crisis. Yet Majority Leader Reid, who determines what measures will or will not be brought to the floor of the Senate, has shown no interest in having the Senate complete one of its most fundamental duties, which puts you, as chairman of the Budget Committee, in an awkward position. That's both unfortunate and unfair. At the end of a long and distinguished Senate career, you deserve much better, and so do the American people. As members of the committee know, it's been more than 1,000 days since the Senate passed a budget plan, and you can't pass a budget if you don't vote. Best I can tell, there are no current plans for us to vote on any budget this year, either here in the committee or on the Senate floor. And any working family or small business owner can tell you that without a budget, it's much harder to address current or future financial problems. The situation in Congress, as we see it, as I've tried to describe it, leaves my constituents scratching their heads with amazement. That usually then morphs into outrage as they yell at their television sets, wondering why is it that Congress can't get its act together and perform some of its most basic responsibilities. It's no wonder that without a budget plan, Washington will not get its fiscal house in order. This has led, of course, to trillion-dollar deficits, a runaway debt that's now larger than our economy, and with the United States government losing its AAA credit rating. For this reason, I'm disappointed that the committee will not proceed with the markup process and allow members of the committee to offer amendments. As a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, the Finance Committee, and Judiciary Committee, I've come to understand that markups actually include the process of offering amendments and getting to vote on those amendments. Unfortunately, we will not have any of that process this week. Again, you can't get a budget if you don't vote. It appears that everyone except the President and the Majority Leader thinks it's a worthwhile process to put forward a realistic budget. The House of Representatives has had 7 votes on different budget proposals, and both Senator Toomey and Senator Paul have introduced their own budget proposals in the Senate. We've also had the President, who followed the law and submitted a budget, but I would note, as Senator Enzi already has, that it did not receive a single vote in the Senate last year, and nor did the President's budget receive a single vote from a Democrat or a Republican in the House of Representatives this year. I think we have a good idea why no member of the House supported the President's budget. We know from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office that the President's budget increases spending every year in the budget window. We know the President's budget would add $10 trillion to the debt. This further weakens our fiscal house, and now, of course, every man, woman, and child in America owes at least $50,000 in national debt. We also know that the President wants to raise taxes on the American people. And of course, his budget includes $2 trillion in higher taxes. Finally, we know that the President's budget does not make any serious attempt to strengthen programs like Medicare and Social Security, which we all know are unsustainable. In other words, the President proposes a big tax increase before dealing with the spiraling costs of entitlement programs, chasing higher spending with higher taxes. This is not a prescription that will either put Americans back to work or get our fiscal house in order. I sincerely hope that the Majority Leader will decide to shelve the political theater on gimmicks like the Buffett tax that will do nothing to create jobs or lower prices at the pump or solve America's debt crisis. We need leadership. We don't need any more gimmicks and delays. The American people have waited long enough. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the public cynicism that's now generated about a 10% approval rating for Congress will only continue to grow in the days and months ahead. This will not bode well for anyone, Democrats, Republicans, or independents. We can, I know we can, deal responsibly with the great challenges that face our country on a bipartisan basis, but it's going to take leadership. I appreciate the leadership that you've shown, Mr. Chairman, in raising these issues, but I'm disappointed, as my colleagues are, that we're not going to be able to actually vote on a budget, and that this is more of an educational process than it is actually meeting our statutory duties to take up and consider a budget. But I realize that you're restricted by the majority leader's refusal to bring a budget to the floor. He's the traffic cop. He decides what bills will and will not be considered, and he's made it clear that he will not allow a budget resolution to come to the floor of the Senate because of the imminent elections in November 2012, not wanting to put any of his members in a position of taking tough votes. But that's what we're here for, to take tough votes, to make hard decisions on serious problems and offer serious solutions. I hope we'll do that.